Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Community Proud Podcast. This is Dustin Allen. With me, as always, in the intros, we got
Abraham Jacobs.
And this is episode 13 with Candace Cortez. Just a couple quick announcements. We have our 150 follower,
Surprise giveaway.
Yeah, surprise giveaway.
Episode.
We got that coming up, a giveaway when we reached 150 followers on Instagram, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be with one of the past guests. I'm not going to tell you who yet, but
We'll find out.
you'll find out soon, as soon as we get to 150. Hopefully we hit it soon. I'm really excited for the giveaway. I really want to give back to you guys. And also, the other announcement is we're still looking for, we haven't been really actively looking, but we're, keeping our eyes open for a few local artists or bands who are maybe interested to do our intro and outro music. What that includes, literally includes unlimited shout outs for the eternity of our podcast.
Exactly.
And obviously we'll pay you to do it as well. Just hit us in the DMs. Our DMs are always open on Instagram. That's where we're most active. So now let's get to this episode. It's episode 13, Candace Cortez. Abraham, you just edited it.
Yeah, super awesome episode. Super, one of the most fun to watch, and it's great because we got more ladies on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
we've been trying to.
Yeah, for sure.
And awesome conversation dynamic, awesome person.
Mm-hmm.
She's so fun.
Yeah, I've known her for a long time. You'll know exactly how long once you get through the episode. But she's just really cool to talk to. We discussed a really good topic. This interview was really kind of different. I didn't really structure it the same as I do as always. We did go through her background a little bit, but we had just a few topics to go through as well that I wanted to ask her about, and she had some really good takes on all those topics, and it's just the amount of knowledge she has too. It blows you away, and I can't wait for you guys to hear this episode and hear the topics that we've discussed. Do you have anything to add?
No, go check out her Instagram at
11 Candace.
Candace, Candace. Yes, sir.
All right, that's 11 Candace. The number 11 and then Candace.
The name Candace.
Yeah, just the name Candace. Yeah. On Instagram, and then go give us a follow as well at Community Proud Podcast on Instagram. We're always active on there. We keep our DMs open. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, anything like that, we always have some open ears. And last but not least, if you enjoy this episode, please share this with any of your loved ones, anyone that you might
any special people in your life.
Yeah, any special ones in your life. That's basically it. Do you have anything else to add?
Nah, enjoy the podcast.
All right, this is episode 13. Here we go. Well, thank you so much for having me in your office.
Is this on? Do I need to turn this on?
I think it's already on.
Okay, good.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So how's your day going?
It's good.
Good?
It is good. I have an eye doctor appointment, so I'm not wearing any makeup, which is unfortunate because I don't have eyelashes. But I have eyebrows, so that's good.
It's okay.
Okay, I'm going to get all that out in the beginning, so then we'll talk normal, serious business.
Just point out the elephant in the room.
Yes. I do have a fascination for elephants, so this is the one that made it to the office. I have 6 or 7 at home, but they're all from a different country.
Really?
Which is fun.
That's cool.
No matter what country I go to, I'll try to find an elephant.
Where's that one from?
Ethiopia.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a fun collection.
Yeah,
I
it
pick
is.
out an elephant wherever I go.
Some people collect shot glasses. You collect elephants.
Yeah, it's fun.
Magnets, no.
And this one broke. I was sad, but I just glued it. I just super glued it back.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
though.
so it's a fun thing.
Man.
It's a fun thing.
Well, okay, I want to know about that tiny chair too.
So I have been in this role now. So I transitioned as I'm the exec pastor here at Koinonia. I got here in February, and we did this big transition thing. But the transition was primarily between our lead pastor and the previous exec pastor, because the previous exec pastor became the lead pastor. Pastor Andrew moved up, and so we had this big service, and everybody, celebrated. We got cardboard cutouts, and everybody took pictures with them. It was just this big deal. I wore I Heart Pastor Tim t-shirt, just like we did all of these things. But my transition wasn't really a part of that, and so it ended up being during our staff meeting, and we have a staff of around 15 to 20. We meet once a week. We meet out there at the conference table, and Pastor Tim gave me that tiny chair, and it just had all this like meaning, and he made me cry, but just kind of essentially like always remember that no matter how big your chair is, your role is not really meant to be here in heaven, or not meant to be here on earth, but your role is really, we're looking to heaven. So keep a tiny chair mentality, that I'm not trying to fill this big old chair. It's a small thing that I get to be a part of something bigger. So just to keep perspective that even though it's kind of a big deal being an exec pastor, but it's not really, it's not the biggest thing in my life.
Right.
And to keep a healthy perspective. So it was kind of a fun way to remember that.
That's a really cool gift.
Yeah.
I want a tiny chair now.
Yes, a tiny chair. Like this is not your whole life. Sometimes what you do feels like everything. And it is a part of maybe your everything right now, but in the big scheme of things, we're all a tiny part of everything. So it keeps it light.
Yeah.
It keeps it light, and it makes me not beat up on myself when I make mistakes.
Don't take life like too seriously.
Right. Like it's all serious stuff, but it's not, this isn't life or death most of the time. And so that's a part of a bigger thing. So yeah, that's what that's about.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I like it.
So, I guess that was our little intro.
Okay.
So we'll probably talk about more of what you do as well. We will talk about more of what you do towards the middle, but for now I want to get like I said, when I sent you the text, like more of the beginning of your life, basically, where you're from, where you grew up, how it was, your family, and your family now.
Yeah. So I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. My mom was in high school when I was born, so I was like not planned, not, and so then my dad wasn't around. She met my dad now, and so I'm kind of like a part of a blended family a little bit. So my two sisters, I have two sisters from my dad, who's not my biological dad, but I've known him forever. We grew up in Florida and Virginia, and I lived in Texas a little bit. My parents are military, so we kind of moved around a little bit. We came to California in 2002, and I've lived here ever since. My parents have since moved on because my dad's still in the Navy. He actually retires here in November. And growing up, I was the oldest of three girls. I was always kind of a bossy person. I've always been kind of creative, but also able to love to argue, love to convince people of other ideas. I'm trying to prove people wrong all the time. And so sometimes I was a brat. Sometimes I was like a bad big sister, but then I would also defend to the death anybody who came between me and my sisters. So I loved them a lot. And now I am raising my own family. I got married really young, so I graduated from high school in 2005.
From where?
From Lemoore High.
Okay.
I was homeschooled for a little bit, and then I started high school my sophomore year. I never did my freshman year. Okay. So I started my sophomore year at Lemoore High, and I loved it because I really like people. So being homeschooled was really hard because it was just me and my sisters all the time. So went to high school, graduated in 2005. I was kind of like a nerd, studied a ton, did all AP classes, really was excited to get out of the Valley. I worked my hardest mostly to get into a school that wasn't here. It was like one of my main goals. I remember, there's like this, when you start to get to the point where you're being competitive for valedictorian, you count who's at what level. So I always looked at my reports. I would know what number I was. I knew who was next to me. I knew I had to beat on this test in order to, get ahead of them point-wise. It's kind of weird and competitive, but they were also my friends. So I ended up graduating pretty high and getting some good scholarships and applying to leave. But the school that I had ended up deciding on going to, my parents were like, man, even with these scholarships, you're going to be in debt at the end of your school career. And so they strongly encouraged, they actually made it impossible for me to choose that school, which at that time totally pissed me off. I was super angry. I'm like, I worked my butt off to get out of here to go to this school, and now you're keeping me here. So that was a really hard time for me, but now in hindsight, it's been over 10 years. It's been almost 15 years. I am really grateful for my parents doing that to me, keeping me here. I ended up going to West Hills, very unsatisfied there at first because I was very used to working at a different level than everybody else academically. And I just felt like, I was like, nobody cares, like nobody cares about school, they don't care. And I hated being around people who didn't care. Yeah. I wanted people to be passionate about what they were doing. And so I was a little frustrated, but eventually I grew out of that need for my care to be lined up with everybody else's care. Like I decided that I can care the most, and that's okay. So as soon as I kind of figured that out, I really did start to love school again, and be okay with loving where I was. And loving the Valley is not an easy thing. Loving where you are is not an easy thing, but I did have to figure that out young, otherwise I was going to lose my mind. But my parents forced me here, and I stayed here, and then because of that I met my husband.
Who does what?
Now he works for the sheriff's department. He's a deputy.
Okay.
He's got a canine. He's on SWAT team. He loves what he does. But at the time when we met, he had told me he was going to be a teacher. He's super into football. He always played. I actually met him. He had lost a football game. It was the very last game of the season, and he lost, and he was sobbing. He probably doesn't want me to tell people that, but he was crying because he's super passionate. He's passionate at the same level I am. We care. And so I was like, oh dang. So I didn't really meet him. I just looked at him from afar. But then when I finally got to meet him, he just loves football. He loves the game, and he had always coached Pop Warner, even though he never had family in those teams. He just loved to coach
because he loved it. Yeah.
He loved the game, and so he was going to go to school to be a teacher in order to be a coach. Yeah. And I was like, sweet, I can deal with that. Going to school, I thought I wanted to be a teacher as well, but mostly I really do like to teach. I love to talk. I love to share what I know. And so teacher made sense.
So that's what you were going for at first?
That's what I was going for at first, yeah. Okay. So I did all these child development classes. I did a lot of communications courses and things like that at West Hills, and I did love it. But then we got married, and so I met him, we got married, and then very early on, while he was still going to school, I was still going to school, he changed his mind, and he was like, I think I'm going to go to the police academy. And I was like, what? That's not what we planned. So yeah, he went to the police academy, and he loves it, and it's really good for him. And he kind of found what was good for him even after we had gotten together, which is nice. I got pregnant really early, didn't really plan that. So I was I did put school on hold for a while. So I actually took a 5-year break from school in the middle, and I opened up a daycare in my home. So I had kids all the time. I usually had between 6 and 8 kids in my home, and that was wild. That was crazy, and it gave me a taste of education and kind of that teaching world and dealing with young kids, and it helped me decide that I didn't like it. I was I don't really think I want to do this anymore. So I went back to school with the goal of becoming an event coordinator. I've always planned parties and done decor and helped people who are planning parties and really stressed out. I had coordinated a couple weddings just for friends and things like that. And so in that process, helped, maybe I'll try this. There's some companies in Fresno, even in Visalia area, where you can make a living coordinating different events for businesses, weddings, or otherwise. So went back to school after I had my second kid, and I had my daughter during spring break. And so I was going to school, I was pregnant, had her during spring break, went right back to school. Dang. It's just pretty intense. I don't recommend it, but I was I never wanted to think that marriage and having kids young was going to be a thing that held me back. It was definitely a thing that drove me forward. I want to be a good steward. I want to represent well the time that I'm taking away from my family. I'm going to do this good. Whatever I do away from my kids better be really, really worth it. And so it never let me slack. I could never just Like, it's whatever, it's just a test. I'm like, no, I need to actually understand this. I need to learn it because I paid for this with absence from my family. And so it became really a driving force for doing well. Yeah.
I think a lot of people can learn from that, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's a really important thing because a lot of people have kids and they're like, well, I can't travel, I can't try new jobs, I can't do things. I'm like, well, you can, but you have to work hard.
Yeah, you do.
You
Yeah,
have to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stay up late and you have to hang out with random people a little bit less. And I did do all those things, but there was some times when it was really frustrating. I actually have a picture. I was looking back on my Instagram, and I had this picture of me. I was cooking dinner, reading a book, and like had a baby on a sling, like all at the same time. Just making it work. Making it work. And I really still wanted to do well. I'm like, I don't want to waste my time or my money. I'm going to ace these classes.
Did you frame that picture?
No. It was not a cute moment. But it was a good moment. It was like a power moment.
Yeah, it was a power moment.
It was a power moment.
Yeah.
So it's been good. It's been good. And my family is a huge part of why I work hard. They were just here before you got here. They are
also
in
2 kids.
Yes, so my 2 kids are here. They're up in everything that I do. So there's no way to separate my work from my family. There's no way to like just go home and check off. I don't have that kind of job. And so bringing them into what I do, explaining why I'm with people, explaining why I'm doing certain things or why I'm going on these trips, and then starting to bring them in on it has been a pretty new stage of parenting and family that I'm loving. So that's kind of a very long answer to what my family has been and where it is now. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So now let's transition a little bit into like what you do now. So when I first met you, I think I was in BBS in 7th grade.
No way.
I was on the black team.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
I don't know if you
was
remember
I
the
on the black
interaction.
team? No, it was Daniel. Was Daniel Vargas?
I don't know who was the leader of that black team, but you were running a game, I believe.
Okay.
And you just sat down to me in the grass, crisscross applesauce.
Yes.
And we talked. You're like, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I was like, hey.
How crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I really don't know exactly what you do now, but
Okay. So during that time, how many years ago was that?
I was in 7th grade. I graduated 2018. 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago.
So at that time, I had probably just come on staff at the church as a youth pastor. Probably just started, or that was right before. So there was a lot of time, basically the entire time, right from when I graduated on, I just volunteered. I volunteered wherever I could because I'm really passionate. I'm really excited about helping young people see that they have a ton of potential in their lives. Like that's a really important idea. And so I feel like potential grows when somebody points at it. Like, look what you could do. Just put some emphasis here and stop doing that and maybe focus here. Like just having somebody point at your potential helps you grow in a really powerful way. So I loved youth ministry. I loved hanging out with teenagers. I really believe teenagers are some of the most cool and dynamic humans on earth. And so always volunteered. And then because I volunteered so often, they gave me a job. Like literally volunteerism turned into a job eventually, which I didn't expect or plan. I never really thought I would be in ministry in that way, but I was super excited when it kind of was offered. So then I became a youth pastor. I was still going to school at the time. And being a youth pastor basically means you plan fun things for kids to do to create an opportunity to talk about things that matter. And so we would talk about God, we would talk about family, we would talk about future choices. I mean, basic stuff like don't do drugs, but also really important stuff like how to believe in who you are. All of those things counted. And really you can have those conversations best when you trust each other. And so that's why we played games. Like if you can laugh with somebody, you can cry with somebody. And so that was a really fun season. I was a youth pastor for 6 years. And then very recently, I talked about it earlier, they offered me the role as exec pastor. So exec pastor at a church, we have a staff, I think we have 7 pastors. And the executive pastor basically is in charge of managing that team of people. And so we have like a pastor of outreach. So right now it's missions month. And so he's really focused on making sure that he does this month really well. And so I help him drive that. And so I'm encouraging him like, hey, don't forget to think about this. Don't forget to think about that. So I'm pushing and training and managing our staff. But also I look at and oversee the church finances, which I feel like is a huge responsibility. There's a lot of money, but it's a lot of money that's like a gift. The way that a church runs is people give money to the church, and then the church is responsible for pouring that money back into the community. And so we just make sure that we're doing that the best we can. And so far, so good. I've been here since February. I don't know how many months that is. And I just keep saying like 8 months, and I haven't burned anything down.
Nice.
So so far so good. Nobody's quit. Nobody has run away. Nobody hates the Lord. So I don't know. But being in this role is really fun because I work a lot with Andrew Cromwell, who's like one of the smartest people I know.
Shout out.
Yes, he's pretty amazing. I love working with his whole family, but getting to hear his ideas, and then I have to make his ideas a reality. So that's a fun thing. It's often a challenge because most time his ideas are too big, and I'm like, how do I do that? I don't know. Let me go read some books. Let me go look at something. I don't know how to do that. And so that's an interesting place to be at work all the time. Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't always know. So sometimes it's a counseling session because somebody's marriage is in trouble. And then sometimes it's a disciplinary meeting because somebody's slacking at their job. And then sometimes I'm painting boxes because I run the creative team and we just try to make our space beautiful. So we're making all these boxes for Missions Month. And the job's really dynamic and different every day, which I really love. But it's mostly to encourage and build people, which I can always hang there every day. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a role that I feel like is too big for me, quite frankly. But it just means I have a lot of room to grow. So that's the space that I'm in right now, is just trying to figure out how to grow into the job and continue to be friends and peers with the people around me while now I'm their boss in some degree. Has been a weird shift, but so far so good. I think that I've been able to keep a good relationship with my friends on staff, and while still be trusted to make some bigger decisions than before. So that's kind of what I do. I've also got a chance to speak at a lot more things now, which is cool. I love that. So I speak in big church a little bit more, and in speaking with we have some pastoral networks just around town, and just getting to be more involved in more of the community-oriented things. It's really, really fun. Really fun just to get together with other pastors and be like, man, how do we solve this problem? We have a lot of homeless right now. What are we going to do about that? How do we work together? We have this issue. We have like a huge meth problem with the law enforcement part of our community is doing this. How does the church partner with them to help people heal in this area of addiction, and to really like try to figure out what the church is doing to meet real world problems is really, really fun. Really fun, really hard, and sometimes really sad, but it's really fun to be a part of that. So
for sure.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So during the very beginning, let's take it back a little bit.
Okay.
How did you transition from just going to school to like finding out, okay, now this is really what I want to do, be in the ministry now?
Yeah. Part of the thing about being a spiritual person is it's not always about what I want, but trying to figure out what God wants. And a lot of that usually means, if God wants me to do this, it usually means it's serving in some capacity. Like, how am I serving others using the gifts that I believe that He's given me? I like to talk. I like to explain. I like to teach. I like to argue. All of those things have become a useful tool with, hey, this is what we're going to do. So when I just started volunteering, never thought of it being a job, but sometimes you get a yes because you said yes way longer, way before that. Like, I said yes to volunteering, like doing this because I love it, not because I want to make a job of it. And so then I was able to sharpen my skills before my skills mattered, before they had impact on my job. And so I was able to get good at organizing, at leading people, at investing in teenagers. I was able to get good at those things before it made an impact on my my work quality. And so then it was just about being available when the need happened. A lot of people will say that it's not always about the most skilled person in the room. It's just whoever's in the room the longest.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people quit.
Yeah.
A lot of people give up. And so like, if you don't, then eventually you're going to be the best one because you've literally just been there the longest. And so some of the thing about just sticking to what you started and being like, man, I may not be the greatest at this, but I'm going to give it my all. And then eventually it can turn into something greater. So for me, I never started out wanting ministry, but I just started out wanting to do what God wanted me to do, which was pour into young people. And then it just became a job. So I don't really know exactly. It's kind of like it just happened, and it has been like a snowball. I did not ask for this role, and I mean, like and a lot of people say like, "Oh, you're a woman, you're in this role," and I'm a brown woman in this role. It's always been white dudes, and so people have been making a big deal of that side of it. And then like, I did not ask for that. You know, like I didn't ask to be like the woman in the job or the brown woman in the job. But sometimes, like, just because you didn't ask for it doesn't mean I don't have to, like, be that representation to some extent. So you don't always have to ask for everything. Sometimes you just need to say yes to the thing you're given and do that really well, and the next thing opens up. And so if we do what we're currently doing really, really well, there's scripture in the Bible where it talks about being a good steward, where if you are faithful with this small little thing, if I give you $12 and you invest those $12 well, I'm going to trust you with 24. I'm going to trust you with 104. I'm going to trust you with 1,004. And so whatever you're given, whether it be a talent, a job, an opportunity to go to school, do that really, really well. And then it opens up the door for the next thing that's usually a little bit bigger. So I didn't have to beg for this. But I think I did some of the earlier things good. So then now I'm out of my league. I'm in this place where I'm like, again, I'm not big enough for this yet, but I'm going to work hard at it. And I think I'll get there eventually. I'll get good at this. But so there wasn't like a moment where it was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I just knew I loved serving, and it turned into a job. And so, yeah.
Wow. Man, you got great stories. Oh, that's really cool.
Cool, thank you.
This is going to be a really good podcast.
Yay! No boring podcast, please. No,
this is really good.
Okay.
So, I was going to say something else. Okay, so, what was I going to say? Okay, so there was never like really a moment, like just like you said, you're like, oh man, that's really what I'm supposed to do. But what about when you see someone else and maybe, I'm sure you've seen it, someone else, like younger kids, like, you know, they have like some specific talent, I don't know, whatever what happens, what have you seen when they just don't, I guess, just don't chase it or start falling into other things? Like, what happens in that situation?
So one of the things that I see a lot is people are not willing to sacrifice for their dreams a little bit. Like, they want to win quick. But like if you're playing a sport, you don't become a champion without first becoming an athlete. You have to first, you know, hone your skills. You have to first practice. You have to first do these other things that don't actually end up in championships for a season. And so like if you're a photographer and you are being particular about who you'll shoot and how much you charge before you actually have the skills to back up that standard, you might be cutting out really good practice. So I see a lot of people who have this idea, well, I'm going to be this kind of a photographer, I'm going to be this kind of a artist, I'm going to be this kind of a person. And so they say no to a lot of things that actually could be some practice, that could be some opportunities to get them to the place that they want to. So sometimes the jobs don't just line up. But I mean, I worked at Macy's. I was a lifeguard for a summer. I worked at a grocery store for years. And I believe it's all customer service, dealing with angry people, dealing with sad people, dealing with people who are breaking the rules, and I have to always bring them back. You know, like all of it is skills that have gotten me to have something to offer the job that I currently have now. Like nothing is wasted. And so to always be saying no to a lot of things because it doesn't exactly line up with my goal doesn't actually help you. All jobs, all experience, especially working with people, lead you to having better skills for the thing that you actually want. So a lot of times I just tell people, just stick with it. Don't quit. Just stop. Don't stop working at McDonald's. Don't stop working at Burger King just because you don't like it. You're probably not going to love those jobs. You might be like a super killer McDonald's worker. Like that might be the thing. And then you'll own it one day. But there are things to offer and glean from every work experience, every school experience, every intern experience. There are things you can glean from those things. How to have a bad boss. Like until you've had a bad boss, it's really hard to know how to not be a bad boss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so going through and be like, man, that boss, that was terrible. I would never treat people that way.
Yeah.
You learn something.
Yeah.
And so not giving up on a thing before you've gotten something from it is really important. And just trusting that it is going to line up. There is a purpose. I just talked with a friend. She was like, what all this stuff that I've done? She's gone to a couple different types of trade schools and hasn't quite figured out her thing. And I'm like, it will all pay up eventually. You know, you've put work in that, you've gained some knowledge, you've gained some experience. It will eventually fall into place. But don't quit. Don't quit looking for the thing or saying yes to opportunities. Yeah. I do feel a little bit spoiled in being offered really cool jobs.
Yeah.
But that happened after I volunteered I volunteered in youth ministry for 8 years before I was a youth pastor. And so that's not a little bit of time.
Right. That's not
8 years is a long time.
It is.
You know, I volunteered a lot. I probably spent 10 to 15 hours a week volunteering before they offered me a job. And that was on top of going to school and having a different job and having children. You know what I mean? Like those things didn't stop me because I loved that. I loved that and I felt like it mattered. And so it doesn't happen super fast. A lot of times you're looking like, oh man, I want what that person has, let me get that. But like you don't always know, like, man, they hustled, they worked, they sacrificed, they said no to things and they said yes to hard things in order to get there, and it probably took them 15 years. And that's okay. Maybe it took them 30 years. That's okay. It's not going to happen in 30 days. It will not happen in 30 days. So just being patient.
Some school essays can't be done in 30 days.
Right. So like there's a lot of things that cannot happen that fast, but we are an impatient culture. Like we really do want things when we want them. And we feel like a failure when we don't have them early enough. But really, like going through the process and being an amateur for a while is actually a part of the process. You know, nobody starts as an expert. So you start as an amateur, and that is how you become even competent and then expert. You know, you start as an amateur and being okay with calling yourself an amateur, not expecting to be able to call yourself an expert or the artist or the professional. Like, yeah, I'm new at this. I'm just trying it out.
Do you think this culture that we see on like social media where people are doing things, quote, like immediately or how innovation is going, where you can now start getting things like immediately right away, we're starting to live in that more fast-paced life. Is that like, do you think that transitions over to like people wanting things just in their own lives immediately?
I'm sorry, what?
Okay, so
no, hold on, I'm talking to her. No. I'm sorry, cut that part out.
Okay. I gotta get editor for that.
Okay, well, leave it in. It's fine. I just had to answer a question. So yes, actually, I feel like patience is a muscle. Okay, and so the more you are good at waiting, the better you are at waiting. The more you have to wait, the more you're good at waiting. And we do not have to wait. I will tell you, I love Amazon, okay? But it has wrecked me for any other company. Like I ordered a jacket recently and it took like 6 weeks, the full 6 weeks to come in, and I was ticked off. I wanted to return it. I'm like, I don't even want the jacket anymore because I want it in 2 days, maybe same day. Like I'm there, okay? I'm full on there. And it like gets me used to a certain way of life. And it does spoil us for... there's not a lot of depth when you're not patient. Like there is something beautiful that grows deep inside your character when you're forced to earn it and when you're forced to work hard for it and when it's not just given to you instantaneous. Like we often look at people who have risen to success And we don't see all of what went into that. So we assume, because we've seen the product, we assume we can have that same thing too with the click, with a decision, with 1 degree. You know, we feel like if we get the one thing, if I write the one song, if I get the one viral video, if I write the one essay, then there will be this smooth sailing fame or fortune.
Blowing up overnight.
Yeah. And it, I guess, sort of, kind of, it's happening for some, but even that I doubt.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if you do blow up overnight without the complexity and depth of having earned it, it can destroy you.
Yeah.
There's something really, really powerful about roots that are deep and knowing who you are before success happens. If you don't know who you are and you become successful, then you will only be listening for how you view yourself based on your success.
Right.
And success doesn't say who you are or how how valuable you are. That's not a determining factor, because success can be taken from you immediately. You can immediately become unsuccessful. And so if your value is placed in your quick, rapid rise to fame, then your success can be taken away. And if that's where you place your value, then all of a sudden you are no longer a valuable human, like just as fast. And so knowing that you are good, even if nobody thinks you're good, is a huge part of why people who stay successful stay successful.
Yeah.
So there's something kind of beautiful in that learning process that we don't often pause and give credit to. And so that's why people are not happy, even after they have what everybody else wants.
Yeah.
Because they place their value there. And it's not actually what makes you valuable. So yeah, wanting things really quick, I mean, that's part of instantaneous culture, but it's kind of been everywhere. I feel like it's been all the time. We haven't changed the world with technology to the point where we've changed the human condition. But I think that we've created some habits that might be hurting us a little bit, but we'll be okay. We'll be okay. People still understand that people matter first and things like that, and I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
I still love the microwave. I still love drive-thrus.
Microwave's awesome.
I love Amazon. Like, I'm not
heated
going
up some soup last
you know
night.
what I
It
mean?
was
Like, I don't want to give those things up or villainize them. Like, they're not the villain.
Yeah.
But I do think as a culture, we can't become so short-sighted or assume that we get to win just because I clicked yes and now I get to win. Like, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. Hard work is important and it's valuable both in the process but also in maintaining success.
Hopefully we won't end up like the movie WALL-E.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You just don't want to be destroyed, you know? Yeah. It's a good one.
So, so what about during your volunteering? Did you ever feel like, man, should I just not do this anymore? If I don't do this anymore, I'll have a lot more time to do. Yes. So actually, I started volunteering because I started volunteering with friends. So I had 2 good friends. We volunteered together, and it was really fun. So even if I didn't want to go, I knew my friends were going to be there, and it was going to be fun. Like, working with people that you love is the best thing in the world. Around halfway through, my friends couldn't do it anymore. I don't know if it was work. I can't remember exactly all the reasons, but they couldn't be there, and so I was kind of there. There was other people volunteering, but they weren't really my people. And so then it started to be like, why am I doing this? Like, it was less fun. And it didn't really have the social pull that it did when I first started. And so I had to really ask myself, like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because it was fun, or am I doing this because I really think that this is an important part of who I am and what's a part of do I have something to offer when I'm volunteering here? Is this important enough for me to actually not always love it, but I'm dedicated to it? And so as soon as I was able to say yes, it didn't make each time at youth ministry hard or easier. There were some times when I would go and I wouldn't really feel that immediate satisfaction. Like, it was just like, that wasn't even really fun. That was hard work. These kids are annoying. Like, there were sometimes it was like they're being brats. Like, I got hit in the face with a dodgeball. Like, there were just some times when it was not fun. And I would come home and I would cry. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I never felt like I should leave, especially when you're asking God, like, God, what should I do? Should I leave? Like, I want to quit this. And I never really felt like, yeah, go ahead and quit. I never felt like good about that choice. Right.
And so I stayed. And then eventually, because my why wasn't the people around me, my why was the people I was serving, it got better. It wasn't always terrible, but there was a season when it was. It was not good. It was awful, and I didn't like it. But I was dedicated to it. And I feel like dedication is a really huge part of why you do something. Like a marriage isn't going to be the first 2 years forever, where it's like honeymoon, you're in this stage. But if you're dedicated to it, when you stop liking it at the same level, well, I'm dedicated. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep doing this. It's really important. So volunteering is not always easy, and you don't always want to, and you didn't get paid. I didn't get paid for it. I didn't get much from it, other than knowing that I think I'm doing something good, hopefully, maybe. I don't know. So that's the thing, too, about some ministries. Like, some ministries, like, oh, I'm feeding hungry people. That person got food today. That was nice. You know, and then some things that you do, it's like, I don't really know how this plays into the big picture. And that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to not know if what you do actually changes the world. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to change the world. But was I there for somebody? Was I available if somebody's world needed to be changed? To stay humble and not think that I'm going to, you know, solve everybody's problems is a really important part of doing ministry. I don't solve anybody's problems. I'm little chair. You know, like, I'm not going to go in there and make every kid happier or love Jesus or not have depression. I'm not going to go in there and solve everybody's problems with their parents. But if they want to talk about it, I will be there. So it's just about creating the space for the opportunity for good things, not always depending on the good things getting me back there again. So, yeah. Sometimes it's hard, but it was worth it.
I got a question about people doing good for other people that are less fortunate. Now, it's good in general, right? Doing something for somebody else that has less than what you have, it's a good thing. But do you sometimes see other people or feel like other people only doing it for, one, maybe attention, and two, maybe just to make themselves feel better more than actually making the other person feel better?
Yeah, intention's really hard to pin down. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, I hope that person's doing that for a good reason, you know? And
you also, I don't want to interrupt you, sorry.
No, let's go ahead.
But, and I also see it a lot on, like, a lot of wealthy people giving to this and that charity. Obviously, we all know it's a tax write-off as well. And they have a lot of, you know, they have a lot of money. I just feel like sometimes it may not be always genuine, but I want to hear your take on it.
So there's a scripture that says, don't let your right hand know what your left hand's doing, which basically teaches you that when you give, if somebody else rewards you for that giving or that service, then you've already received your reward. And so to do things and not expect or ask reward, or not do it in a way that would automatically get you that reward, that like, oh man, you're awesome, you did that, then the reward is actually magnified. So there's something about, at least in Christian culture, that it should be without the intention of getting attention. There's something valuable there, because then it's not really about you. And so when you do see people like, oh yeah, I gave this much money, I gave this much money. Number one, I do think that there's something pretty inspiring about that. So as much as we want to twist and alter people's motivations, like trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, I'm inspired by wealthy people returning their wealth to other people. Like that, I have to hold on to the hope and inspiration of what that is without trying to assume that they're just looking for my attention. But if they are just looking for our attention, heck yeah, let it be that way than other ways. Like there's so many ways to look for attention. There's so many ways to have people look at you and think that you're awesome. If you're going to use helping other people in that way, I'm for it. Even if the intention is not 100% genuine, people are getting helped. And so, do I think that people should always have good intentions? Yeah. Do I always have good intentions? Nope. And so for me to point at somebody saying, well, they're a millionaire and they just want us to like them. I don't know. I don't know if I can sit there. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can actually get upset about that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I try to watch that, and I do think there's some examples where people are like, oh, I've done this, and I'm just like, well, sweet, good for you. Like, it does kind of put me in this place, and as soon as I get there, I have to ask myself, like, why am I being salty about this? Why am I upset in some way? What about this person is making me feel negative about them doing a good thing? But yeah, I do think people leverage the unfortunate situations of other people for their own benefit, and that's hateful.
Yeah.
That's not okay. I would never want my own negative situation to benefit somebody else.
Right.
For them to push down on me to leverage themselves up. I would never want that. That's not a dignified place to be for those people who are maybe in poverty or sickness or whatever. But I don't know. I just try to give them more the benefit of the doubt. But I do think people do that.
Yeah.
But I try to like trust that at least something good is coming from it. I have to hold on to that. Otherwise, this whole world's rotten.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you just sit there, like, it really is all rotten. Our intentions are all like distorted, and it's really hard to peel away selfishness. You know, like, I do hope that I get something from serving. I do. I want to learn something. I want to feel like my life has purpose.
Yeah.
And that is kind of a selfish intention, even if it's not, well, I want people to see me. Like, that's not really, that's like maybe more along what you're talking about. But even like, I want to have purpose in this world. I want to have impact in this world. That really is about me.
Yeah.
And so even that could be overwhelmingly distorted into becoming something corrupt. And so being cautious of how you point at others, as well as being cautious of why you get upset when you see others probably be a little bit shady, is an important part of the process. So yeah, don't leverage poor people or hurt people for your own good. But I can't assume that I'm doing it the best either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a hard thing. We went on a mission trip pretty recently, and that was one of the hardest things, is really not knowing if we did anything good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, we were just kind of here with people. Nobody's richer because I was here. Nobody has more of anything because I was here. And so to leave knowing that I just like got to build relationships with people and not really help them really humbled me. And so then to take that same humility and be like, man, I don't know if I'm actually going to save anybody's life, but I'm going to try to keep that heart is really important for me right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to try to assume that other people have that same heart. Like, they just want to help people. They have a lot to offer. Let them spend it. It's good stuff. It's way better than, jets or casinos. Like, they could be spending it on other stuff.
Yeah.
But instead they pour it into that charity. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So let it be that. I think that's it.
Where do you see yourself in the near future?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I'll probably be here. My husband and I always talk about it, like, man, do you think we're always going to live in California? And we're like, I don't know. We are we just bought a house, so really excited about that. We have dreams and hopes. We have all these different goals. And whether they work out or not, I'm not quite sure. Like, we have this dream of adopting. We have this dream of traveling. We have all these dreams and these goals. And so I think doing our life good right now is really important, and it will open the door to some of those other things. And so
kind of like what you do with volunteering.
Right, exactly. So like my main goal right now is making sure I don't wreck my kids. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be a good mom, and I'm not going to I'm going to put that in the front of everything I'm doing. And I want to be their friend when they're 25. Like, I want to make sure that they don't want to run away from me as soon as they can. So really paying attention to that, to this stage, for that stage is kind of what we're doing. And so I'm trying to love my 7-year-old so that when she's 27, we're still friends. So that's kind of where I see myself, is like still serving, loving Hanford, loving Lemoore, and just investing here, making this a better place in however I can.
Right.
Primarily with my kids, through my church, but in whatever way possible. So I don't know what that'll mean. Maybe it'll mean that I'm still exactly doing what I'm currently doing, but maybe it opens up into some other things. I don't know. But hopefully I'm here. I mean, I never assumed that this is where I'm going to be, because I did not assume I was going to be here 2 years ago. I would not think that I was going to be here. So I hope it's somewhere awesome, doing good things for people, no matter whether they're good or bad. But I want to do good things for people. So, and primarily my people. Do good things for my two and my husband. So that's where I'll be for sure, is loving on those three.
That's awesome.
And whatever else kind of wraps around that. That's where I'll be.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and hopefully traveling, because we are always wanting to go somewhere. Always wanting to go somewhere.
Awesome. So we'll wrap it up here pretty soon.
Okay.
I've been starting to ask this question often now in a few of my recent episodes. What is it? How do you want to be remembered as?
That's interesting. So I actually asked myself this question when I was really young. I think I might have had a paper on it or something, because I was like probably early high school. Somebody asked, or I had to think about how I wanted to be remembered. And I remember just having this thought, I wanted to be remembered as a woman of God, which in my opinion means somebody who lived their life, like everything I have, I try to pour back. If I've been given the gift of reading, I'm going to read to people. If I've been given the gift of organization, I'm going to organize things for people. Like I'm going to live everything I have, pour it out, to love the space that I'm at. And right now I'm currently planted in Kings County. And so I want to be remembered as a woman of God who served God by serving where I was planted. So that would be awesome. And I want to be a good mom. I want to be remembered as a good mom. It's pretty incredibly important to me right now. So loving my kids well is my favorite thing I get to do. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add before we officially wrap things up? Any more life lesson stuff, or?
I don't know. I think that I feel pretty young. I'm 32 years old, so I don't feel done. I feel really young in the sense that I have so much more learning to do. And I think that no matter what stage you are, to stay excited about learning more, seeing more, loving more is really, really important. So no matter what you're doing, keep growing at it and keep loving people. Even if it's through podcasts, even if it's through communication, tough conversations, keep using it to serve people. That's the best way to live. Really is the best way to live. It helps you sleep at night. Yeah. I think that would be it.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So, do you want to plug your Instagram or any social media or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, but yeah, I have an Instagram.
You.
Yeah, tag me.
Okay.
But I am definitely not a public figure in any way, shape, or form.
Got it. Okay.
It would matter if people followed me.
Well, we'll be tagging you once your episode comes out anyway.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
You'll just see tons of pictures of my children
that's fine.
The weird places that I choose to go.
All right. So
yeah.
That's
Cool.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me in your lovely office.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
This was fun. This was a really good episode.
Good.
And so I'll see you, I don't know, next time. I'll see you next time. Yeah, at 111 or something.
Yeah, we'll see you for sure.
And we'll see you guys next time as well in the next episode.
Bye.
And we're back. Dustin and Abe. Still.
Yep.
Episode number 13.
Kept
Hope you
it the
guys.
same.
Yeah. Didn't switch it up. Hope you guys enjoyed episode 13 with Candace Cortez. We had a super fun time. Wish I could have been there. Seemed super fun.
Abe, man, I wish you could have been there too. I know for sure. I mean, everyone that you do miss, I know you would enjoy, but I know especially you would enjoy this one too. Just because of all the topics that she had to discuss, or that we had to discuss. And she's just a really cool person to talk to, especially to the young people like you, Abe. I mean, coming from a 20-year-old, I guess that doesn't mean a whole lot, but I'm only 5 years older than you. But she's done a lot of work with a lot of high school students, and it's just really cool to see her personally really cool to see her go from that to what she is now today as pastor for her church, and that's really cool because I've known her for a while. So we really hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Once again, please give her a follow on Instagram.
At 11 Candace.
Yeah, at 11 Candace. If you caught it during the episode, she said she didn't really care about all that, but we really want her to get all the recognition that she deserves, because she deserves a ton of recognition for all the things that she does for her church and the community. So, Abe, is there anything else you want to add?
No, we hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, and follow us on Instagram as well at Community Proud Podcast. Follow our personal pages at DALLEN2199
and _Abe.Jacobs.
And did I say our Community Proud Podcast page? Yeah. I mean, it's just Community Proud Podcast on Instagram anyway. And we got other social media too. Make sure you stream this on YouTube as well. We got the video version on there.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
SoundCloud, YouTube, LinkedIn through my personal account. I gotta work on that though. But other than that, man, please share. Our only marketing is you guys and what we do online, but mostly you guys. So we really appreciate anybody who's willing to share. And I think that's it. That was episode 13. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time on next episode of Community Proud Podcast.
Have a wonderful week.